Look at that little guy. Why is his head doing that? Are you okay? Are you okay? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. There you go. That was terrifying. Oh, look at this little nightmare. Your husband was a furry. Alright. Oh my goodness, the upgraded bioluminescent lights. No, they have a cold color temperature. I'm that asshole on the freeway that has those bluish lights that you hate and drives too close behind you and is currently blinding you while you're just trying to drive. It's me. I am the asshole. Woo woo. Let's see. I might want to grab... I don't know if I need to grab anchors for the final warp. I don't think necessarily, because the goal is to go to a plot location and decouple myself from the remnant. The goal is to get me out of the zone, I think, but also separate me from the remnant that's going to drive me insane and kill me and stuff. Also here it's just a binary choice of go left or go right to get those things, so I'm gonna go left, I think. But if I'm right, since I'm not here to gather and we're here to finish the story, this should be a relatively quick drive into the end of the game. Just me dodging the bad stuff I see. Like that fucker. Okay. This is a dense bit of road, a bit of forest, but I do not want to approach one of those lightning-y things. They really suck. Not a gravity guy when I'm on this terrain. Where is that guy? It's over there. Okay, I guess I've technically made it around it, I think. I think I'm safe. It is weird being out here. It's weird not doing a run. This part of Darkwood and Subnautica always comes up, where now you're just sprinting towards quest markers like a normal video game, and that feels very strange. Is this... Okay, it's just a radiation circle, right? Like a normal type? Yeah, it's hot dust. It's just huge. Does hot dust... Maybe hot dust gets bigger when you're in a zone that has increased clouds? That might be interesting. Because yeah, hot dust is usually relatively small. I'm not used to it being a giant... visible god rays cloud that goes that high up and everything, but that might just be what it looks like, either because maybe heavy fog expands the size of it, or maybe heavy fog makes it way more visible because of the fog. I genuinely was like, is that a new anomaly? But yeah, this is like a, let's see. Yeah, C4, A2, A1. Yeah, that's the route they planned out. So, the more I expanded and finalized the highway, the less useful it got, which is weird. Like I activated C3, which connects all the highways. I then never used highways ever again, except for maybe this original G1 over here, I think. And that's weird, right? But the highways are super weirdly laid out in this game. And also you can't actually, like, it seems intuitive you would loop around on them, but you literally just can't move in those directions in this game. It's just not how it works. So that's all kind of strange. You'd think it'd be really helpful. Alright, this is the Eerie Darkness place, and also gravity stuff is stronger. Does it say pickpocket? Oh. Wait, am I already in the swamp on my second stop? I didn't look close enough. Because a pickpocket being in the first zone would be wild. But yeah, I think the first zone has been so trivialized by the new connections we make around that central highway spot that yeah, at this point we basically skip directly out of the first zone the moment we start playing. I don't really want to go down that route for that anchor either. I think I might pick up some anchors just in case you need some of them for the jump at the end. Oh, do not aggro that guy. Please don't. Look at the eerie lighting on our cryptid on my dash. It's always very eerie to get to the part of the game where the entire systems collapse away and everything's not relevant anymore. You're not gathering resources, you're not scanning, you're not exploring, you're not building anything, and you are essentially abandoning everything you've made so far. So, uh-oh. Oh! Oh, I still touched the thingy. Okay, rude. This guy's such a dickhead. Give my door back. It's yellow, so it goes on this side. Really dark around here. At least there's some warning that it happened. Besides just you looking down and being like, why is part of my car gray now? But it's very surreal to suddenly be in like, I'm playing Saints Row mode, and you're just like driving towards a map marker for a while, or swimming towards it, or walking towards it, and like triggering narrative moments. It's like a very different feel and vibe. A struggle in a lot of these games, in particular, that I find interesting is that in many cases this whoa. Have I ever seen a house that looks quite like that? I don't know. Not that I guess I don't expect a house to be scannable. I feel like I've never seen this house before, this configuration. Interesting. Doesn't really matter. But a potential weakness of the genre is that this part of the game almost never involves you expressing any kind of mechanical mastery over the game. In many cases, this final moment is you just walking somewhere and then watching the ending play. And there's often not really a big final thing that builds off of the challenges the game had so far. Like the game, like it might happen in the final, level, but overall the journey to this destination is not bringing together all of the skills I've gained so far in a unified challenge. It's just asking me to drive somewhere. And I think you understand how that's different. Like there's like the way that like most video games have like a final boss or a tough ending level. Obviously. I really already managed to pop a tire, huh? Motherfucker. Nope, that kind. Boop, boop, boop. This isn't a huge indictment on or anything, especially when I'm talking about how the whole genre is like this. I just find it kind of interesting to think about that element of it being kind of goofy. So yeah, obviously, you get to the end of a Souls game and you get a big, bad, tough boss fight, or in many cases, a final boss fight that's easier than some of the stuff you just fought, because it's doing a little bit of a subversion. But even that's based on the expectation of big, tough fight. It's not a great thing that my super armored bumper is worn out. Was it worn out before I left? I thought I was checking for that stuff. This door is worn out. God damn it! Did they just gain these levels of brokenness just now? That's rough. Was just taking a fun moment to cap these things off while I'm out here. Alright. Yeah, the funny thing about just having the goal of driving to a destination and no longer having the mechanical pressure to achieve resources is that some of the most important parts of the game are no longer at play. Because, like, it turns out a lot of what's dangerous about this game is brought on by you scavenging. you actively having the goal of scavenging stuff means that you're driving off in all these crazy places, you're investigating places, you're taking longer, and the longer you're in the zone, all the ambient radiation and other issues all build up and become a problem for you. I'm already in zone 3? Wow, this path really skips straight through. That's wild. Remember when I had like several zones worth of jumps in the first, several individual stops in the first zone every time? It's wild thinking how quickly I get to zone 3 now, almost immediately. I did one zone 1 level and one zone 2 level, and I'm already in zone 3. Which I'm funnily enough going to spend a couple levels in. Nope. At least I think this is zone 3, or is this the desert part of zone 2? I'm not totally sure. We've accelerated as we've gone on, so it's slightly harder to remember some of the newer stuff compared to the older stuff. Where that was more formative, and we spent more time in as I was figuring out what to do. This might be the truck I keep failing to scan. It looks like a moving company. The box truck. It never occurred to me that this would be become a logistical nightmare. By the end of the decade, operations of the zone involved over 100 scientists, twice that in support staff and technicians, another 100 staff in engineering disciplines, and more than 2,000 military personnel. That last figure is particularly difficult to estimate. Oh, and trucks. Trucks, all the time, rattling back and forth, moving gas, moving mechanical equipment, cabling, furniture. I guess we all need sofas, right? I'd have preferred a light rail network, at least more freight. But after those incidents, it's like everyone is scared to get on any train within 100 miles of this place. Like they're cursed or something. So it's trucks, all day and all night. You know what we brought to the zone? Traffic jams. And now we're starting to move everything out again. Downsizing, they call it. Or just outright plundering abandoned equipment. Ooh. Something else is new here? Oh, the intense radiation. Yeah, and here radiation, I think, can go through my stuff, or it's just stronger than normal. I could have actually read that just now, but I didn't. I'm gonna go down here and grab this anchor because it's really big, and I'm gonna go over there and grab that lore because it's there, and make this journey slightly more eventful. Oh, that's radiation. That's the exact thing that I said was bad. Oh, it's kind of everywhere here, huh? Isn't it? I should actually mark my destination because that's how this game works. If you want to actually know where you're going. Yeah, there's 2 of them on opposite sides of the map, and this one's way bigger, so I'll grab this one. But yeah, when your only goal is to leave the map, you just need to lightly evade a few hazards. Hazards can still get in your way, but definitely the biggest dangers in this game came from me trying to get to particular spots, or trying to do risk-reward things where I rip stuff out of the map while being actively pestered by all the stuff that's happening. And then, of course, having the incentive to spend longer in the map, which causes the storm to likely happen, and then you have to deal with running away from the storm, and also weighing that against whether or not you want to do other stuff before you leave the storm. All that stuff. And a lot of that is just out the window the moment you're in this situation. Are you fucking serious, man? Okay. Down to the end, my car is still a piece of shit. This is... Okay, I think it does say my engine is weary. Was it a mechanics kit? Did I even read it? Yes. Okay, my engine has become weary, so it breaks more easily, unfortunately. Which makes sense. Gonna pop this on here. It's finally happening, by the way. I have 2.5 radiation right now, so we're getting all the notifications about it. But I'm actually fine. I'm doing A-okay at the moment. I am bummed out I never got to install the higher level engine, but the late game resource grind really started to become difficult to manage to actually achieve any of my goals. And particularly it's a bit of a struggle because as you progress, I feel like each zone gets, I mean, if you look at the map, they literally do get smaller than the previous one. So exploration wise, I just have less depth to plumb from that part of the map as you get to each one. So they expect you to get even like more and more difficult resources to get in order to finish the tree, but there's actively less zone to play in, and you're hurtling towards the end of the plot. So it feels a little misguided on that level. Like, it feels like the zone balance is slightly out of whack. If the intent is for you to try to actually max everything out, which it could not be that. It could not be that. Yeah, I'm really hoping that I don't get blasted into the sky. So I'm gonna wait for this thing to go, then kick, then yep, kick. Oh, it went again. You fucker. I just really don't want to detonate these towers of explosives. So you're not gonna believe this, but my back left tire is also busted now. I will say that I don't really get that much of a sense that my vehicle became that much stronger over the course of the playthrough. Ow. But, god damn it, I pressed every wrong button. But there's a few reasons for that, and some of it is pretty fair. Like, the game does have wear and tear on parts, and I did not stay ahead of that, or did not replace everything on my entire car with new things, so some of these things do just get worse over time. Oh, it's the mechanics one. Wow, I'm using only mechanics kits. Oh wait, I knew that. I just got mixed up by the fact that I accidentally picked this thing up weird. 3 mechanics kits in a row. It's a good thing I prepared everything and didn't disproportionately bring sealing kits, just because that's what I've done a lot of before. A remarkable amount of damage to my vehicle, considering how little, that was worth 2 points. Considering how little's actually happened to it this run. The only anomaly contact I've had so far is, that one guy stole a tire from me, a door from me, and I just bounced in the sky. And I've already had to repair 3 parts of my vehicle in specialist ways. I've had to repair. I did a lot more repairs the other way. If I were to properly critique this game, like try to make a bigger video about it, and I want to do research in support of that, this is a beautiful landscape, by the way. I love the is that called volumetric fog? I love games that have fog and you can see it getting more dense in the distance, so it gives everything on the screen the sense of depth of how close and far things are. I like watching everything have a gradient of where it turns into silhouettes in the distance and gets brighter. Like, I want to learn how to draw landscapes like that. This is beautiful. But if I was going to analyze this game for a critical thing, one of the things that I would be tempted to do is to do the Darkwood test, because I talked before about how in Darkwood there's a really cool gameplay loop that's very satisfying and also terrifying, and it's very good at that, but it doesn't really interact, in my opinion, with the story very well. And once you realize what the game actually wants from you, you can just run to each plot point relatively quickly and not really engage with the base building at all. And in fact, from what I saw of speedruns, I believe people do just not engage with the base building at all. They just run to all the plot points real quick, which kind of makes it feel like that stuff's out of the way. At least Subnautica speedruns feel like people are cheating a bit, because it's often people, they use the base building stuff in a Fortnite kind of way. There's no logbook thing here. They use the base building stuff in a Fortnite kind of way to do tiny pop-up shops that just give them access to air briefly, which is sneaky, but at least clever feeling in the use of the system. And then they, what they do is they try to get through as much of the game as possible without building any vehicles. So they take advantage of the fact that technically this is a slight oversight, but it's one to make the game playable. In Subnautica, your big goal is to go deeper and deeper into the map. Oh, there it is. But as you go deeper and deeper, your vehicles will hit crushing depths. And as they get into crushing depths, your vehicle will then start taking damage very quickly. And thankfully there's a depth meter on the thing, so it's not a surprise, and you're warned about the crushing depth. That's the progression system. You keep wanting to go deeper, but then figuring out how to get the upgrades you need to let your vehicles go deeper to then make it to the end game of the story that's, you know, deeper. That's what's cool about Subnautica 1. It's a very well constructed world and gameplay loop. And part of that was they did an early access period where they did tons of data gathering on their audience, and they essentially made the game based on how people were playing it and learned from them in real time in a really interesting way, and in a way that they might not even be able to replicate, because I think it became it got regulated, your ability to do that kind of data gathering that they did, I think, and they can't do it the same way again or something. and their sequel or spin-off, Below Zero, was much worse. But I'll get into some of that later, maybe. But an oversight / logistical necessity is that your vehicles can get fucked up, but you can get out of your vehicle and swim around it. And that's a gameplay thing, because you can go around your vehicle and repair it from the outside, and you can like knock off things that have attached to it that are like draining its battery or attacking it in various ways, or hop out to get resources. It's important that you can get out of your vehicle because the game's designed in a way where you really need the ability to swim around in order to do stuff. And the reason to have a vehicle is that the surroundings are supposed to be hazardous or scary, or also just way too deep for you to be able to make it back to the surface for air. So the vehicle is your air supply that you're driving around with, and it's also carrying most of your stuff. So like, it makes sense mostly. But speedrunners definitely realize that, oh, since you don't have a crushing depth as a person, you can come up with a series of shortcuts and tricks to let yourself just kind of swim through the game and cheat. So you'll see speedruns, and we filmed this with Marty and Ashley. I have a playthrough. The only speedrun on my channel is Ashley playing Subnautica and beating it in like 1 or 2 hours right after I just finished playing the game for like months, which is very fun to see. And she just like hops, she just fucking swims everywhere as a person, as fast as possible, and then uses and only really uses bases so that she can build a quick little structure and then use that as a strategic spawn point, so that when she gets to certain objectives, she then dies on purpose, so she respawns at that location, and that's the only use of base she has, is like that in air. Like, it's extremely interesting. And that feels like at least like a proper speedrun that's using the mechanics in an unexpected way, whereas Darkwood stuff kind of feels like people are just ignoring the gameplay of Darkwood to sprint at all the plot points, and that's disappointing by comparison. So, to finish my thought before we start this lore thingy, what I'm worried about with Pacific Drive is that it gave me the illusion of a cool gameplay loop, maybe. This isn't me saying it for sure because I haven't tested it or anything. But I do wonder if maybe this is all the illusion of a gameplay loop of interesting upgrades and so on. And, like, maybe none of these upgrades mattered. I'm wondering if a speedrun of this game involves just sprinting towards the story, just like in Darkwood. It's slightly harder because you can't go deeper into the zone without starting over and over again. But I imagine that people might just drive at the exits over and over again and then get to the final place, pick up a couple of anchors, and then warp. And then just do that over and over again. They might not get any upgrades or research or craft parts for their vehicles all that much. If anything, they might abuse the Liberator to rip pieces of random broken cars off and put them on your car. Because, and this is an issue that I had with the game, is that it does feel like percentage-wise, the end game stuff you can build for your vehicle just isn't doing that much damage reduction. So it does have a bit more health, but at diminishing returns, and it doesn't have that good of damage reduction. Like, you'd expect to be like 30, 40, 50% damage reduction at least to justify going down the tech tree. Considering that's not that much stronger than the starting gear, your car doesn't actually maybe get that much stronger besides its increased capacity for battery and fuel. So it might be strategically viable just to sprint at all the plot points, not engage with the entire core mechanics of the game, just keep ripping doors off of crashed cars and putting those on your car to give you better radiation resistance, basically. And then just keep triggering the plot points over and over again. And like, that might be, you might be able to beat the game pretty quickly. I don't think I'm going to test it necessarily, but that'd be a bit rough if you can ignore all the mechanics and beat the game, especially since the version of the thing that I'm suggesting is not a Subnautica level interesting subversion of the mechanics. Like, oh damn, I wouldn't expect that. You're using the mechanics, but in a surprising way. What I'm suggesting is just the idea of ignoring all of the mechanics and just driving at the waypoint the entire game until the game ends because you've got to the last waypoint. That would be a bummer, and that's Darkwood's issue. If I played Darkwood again, I could still have fun with it and enjoy it while ignoring that fact, because you're kind of there for the gameplay loop. But it's hard not to unsee the fact that in Darkwood, you're in this day-night cycle survival thing, and you're kind of making it as tough for yourself as you choose to by lingering and engaging with the farming and engaging with the base building and resources and the decay of having to replace your traps, as opposed to just quickly triggering the next plot point and then moving to the next region and moving on. It's like, that's, once you know how optional that stuff is, it kind of gets shaky and iffy, and that's what I'm curious about, because the thing about this game is that when it comes to most of the plot points, it is just drive this destination and maybe flip a switch, or drive to this part of the map and drive through these gates and stuff like that. That doesn't mostly require that many upgrades, except for maybe the idea, stuff like crafting the limb shield. That just might not be all that demanding. So it might be, and I'm sorry if I'm shattering the illusion for anybody, but once again, I haven't tested it myself anyway. I just worry that maybe Pacific Drive is the illusion of a meaningful gameplay loop that builds to the ending, but they actually might be pretty separated from each other. But like, this is also the type of game, like much like the Fallout games, I could see somebody obsessively just maxing this game out just because they're so into the gameplay loop and they don't pursue the plot at all until they literally are just like, well, I'm out of stuff to do, which is how people play like Fallout 4 sometimes. They just want to collect 5,000 glue so they can make beds or whatever for Preston and stuff like that. And similarly, like my Ashley, who did the speedrun for Subnautica, she specifically puts incredible amounts of hours into like Subnautica and Stardew Valley and a bunch of other games, and she never beats these games. She just starts them over and over again, and dwells in the early game or the mid game where everything's comfortable and the gameplay loop is really satisfying. So, you know, people can compartmentalize. Anyway, here's the podcast that I've put off for too long.
After the multi-stage evacuation of the Olympic Peninsula's 100,000 strong population, the records get sketchy. Once the region is swept clean of civilian eyes, the flow of information trickles to an eventual stop. Arda has always maintained that the evacuation was done in the name of national security, that there was simply nothing more patriotic than sacrificing your homes, with the communists plotting our demise across the Atlantic. Certainly not because there was any danger from the strange experiments happening inside, or situations most unnatural to witness. Arda kept a wide berth, displacing citizens far ahead of the front line, so first-hand accounts of things going awry were rare. But rumors spread fast, and everyone had some story about a distant relative whose pet changed in inexplicable ways, or a friend of a friend who followed strange lights into the woods and never returned. Once the civilians cleared out, the Arda employees moved in. Scientists, officials, support staff, and their families made the Olympic Exclusion Zone home, reaching anywhere from 300 to 1,000 in total at its peak. What
cool
anything
dog.
doing in the zone was kept hush-hush, but the population just outside the walls found the secrecy irresistible. Every shipment of raw material, out-of-season weather pattern, and inexplicable light or sound became the talk of the town for the first decade of the zone's existence.
That was a quick storm. Cool dog. It's got heterochromia, which, if I remember correctly, is disproportionately likely in huskies in particular. They have a lot of them have heterochromia, I think, which I think is also kind of a sign of like all the inbreeding that is involved in having pure breeds with dogs, and a lot of health conditions that dogs have is because of the attempt to make them have pure breeds. Makes things worse. I don't know what turncoat is. I guess we're gonna finally find out. This one also has maximum anomaly, maximum atmospheric shifts and zone storm, but we have a long wait before the storm starts. We're probably fine there. My destination requires 4 to escape, so I might want to grab another anchor here, of which there are a lot apparently. Minimum or medium anomaly density, and the next one's gonna have even less. So not tons of anomalies. I have locked. Wow, I've actually inspected every single thing in this entire zone. Every hazard and every helpful thing. I like to look at how the narrative and the gameplay of a game mix, and how much they have in common and how much they work out. And when I say that, I mean both narratives. I mean the narrative that you experience as a player, the gameplay story, And then also the narrative that is the story the game's telling in the text, and how sometimes those don't mix, and sometimes the player experience and the gameplay experience don't fully match up with intent. I'm very annoying, or very interesting, depending on who you talk to. There's people who don't want to talk about any of this stuff, and that bums me out. Because I'm like, no, it's so exciting. Hello, friend. Don't hit it. That'd be rude. This repairs my durability and my battery. It does not help me with... Is it still going? What's it repairing, I wonder? I guess I have a lot of, like, tire durability, and that has a lot of health. This doesn't help me with gasoline, though. That thing's over there, which is good, so I'm pretty safe from that right now. I'm gonna park over here by the healing thingy. And nav up this. It actually might be continually healing my battery because the car is still on and technically losing battery. Nope. Oh my god, calm down. Yep. I'm always right to park far away. Oh, is the light thing coming over? And I'm up to 4, just like that. So I back-to-back looted the 2... Uh-oh. Ow. That wasn't that bad. It's not electricity. So back-to-back I looted 2 of the biggest anchors I've ever seen. They're both worth 2.0. I remember at the beginning of the game I thought they'd all be worth 1.0. And then was hit in the face with how often they're worth like 0.4 and 0.6, which is a bummer. But yeah, I'll ignore the other one, and I'll just head down to the other big one and grab that on the way out, which is because on the way to the exit. But yeah, every now and then I think about the game, Hyperlight Drifter. No, I actually never think about Hyperlight Drifter. The only thing I think about Hyperlight Drifter is like, that was a slightly fun Metroidvania / slight Souls-like, but it wasn't that interesting. And it had a weird glitch where some of the doors weren't linked up correctly, so I reached an impossible space where I would go through the left door and it'd take me to the same place as if I went to the right door, like in an anti-chamber kind of way, but in a way that was clearly not intentional. Because I remembered a different room being in that direction before, and it was just gone now. Like, the game just glitched out, and I lost access to a important location. Or maybe not important location, but a place that I think I needed for 100% completion. That's just a funny bug. But no, what's the game I'm thinking of? Citizen Sleeper. Oh, this sucks. Okay. I'm also probably parked too close for my own good right now. Although that thing over there could heal me. What's that blue thingy? Oh, it's just that. I got a little ouchies. But I can heal a little bit here so if I don't attract the attention of that other thing. I don't know if this is doing me any good considering I'm in the radiation bubble. I should probably just leave. Alright, so I now have 5.2. That's a lot. But yeah, Citizen Sleeper is a game where every day you roll some dice, and those dice determine how good you are at doing tasks. And you're living under cyberpunk ultra-capitalism, so you... And it's even worse, you're an escaped robot thing that is on the run, and people use your marginalized status against you, but you also need special resources to survive that are like your... Instead of like food and water, you need like special resources that keep your like artificial body alive. Kind of akin to like how in like Deus Ex people have like special medications they have to take to keep their implants from being rejected by their body, and that's used against you also. And the game just has a billion ticking clocks. There's just so many ticking clocks where every day these clocks go down, and there are a series of things you need to do by this time. Like, you need to do this by that time, or you're going to get caught by the person that's bounty hunting you. You need to do this by that time, or this opportunity will pass you by. Like, a bunch of things are happening in parallel. And you're encountering nonstop all these people who are also struggling under cyberpunk ultra-capitalism and just trying to find a better life and get off of the space station in this controlled environment where so many corporations control everything you do. And so the dice are supposed to give you a sense of desperation. You have so many things you could do every day, including working jobs or helping people or working towards your long-term goals. And the struggle here is you're like, I really need to do this job and I need to do it well. And I rolled these 3 or 4 dice, and this one is, I rolled like a 6 and like 2 3s maybe and stuff like that. So you're like, ah, man, I really want to work on this long-term goal and better my life, but I got to put this 6 towards my work so I can make the money I need to survive, right? And like you make those kind of like triage style stressful decisions. It's a really cool game for having that idea. It's a cool idea. Because you're prioritizing which things you're putting your effort towards and which things are the stuff that are more disappointing things. Like, and even someone like me who's not like struggling to survive day to day, I still have to deal with that version of like, okay, if I want to run my tabletop RPG channel and I want to run this channel and I want to write video essays for my video essay channel and I want to work on art, but then I also have these looming things of like, shouldn't you work on like your fitness? Shouldn't you work on like your cooking habits and so on? Like there's all these things. And so it's very easy to think about the dice and like them having different values and you assigning different ones to each one and spending them in different ways. And like, should I always be spending my best dice on this work that I'm doing right now? Or should I be spending them elsewhere to reprioritize things? Or even on things I don't spend dice on at all? And my habits manifest in forms like me, working on other stuff, and then till like 11 p.m. and then at 11 p.m. to like 2 a.m. I'm like, let's draw finally. I'm gonna draw now. This is when I have time to draw. I'm like, is that the best time to use that? Is it the best sleeping habit? Is that the best time to be pursuing my hobby? Is that the best like way to allocate time? Is that healthy? There's all that stuff to think about. So that stuff's really cool. That's a powerful metaphor to express mechanically. But as you get later into Citizen Sleeper, you just get too many resources and too many upgrades and you become too strong. So you just kind of overcome capitalism in a way that I think it contradicts the narrative of the game, because it ends up supporting the idea that capitalists say, which is that you just are supposed to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and just overcome and work hard, because your character kind of does work hard by overcoming. And it's because, in part, that your character, just the very concept of being able to unlock things and progress at things and level up, essentially, means that your character has RPG mechanics, and it maybe wasn't entirely interrogated how RPG mechanics themselves kind of support certain types of narratives and have certain biases in their mechanical expression that contradict the actual narrative the game is going for. Because you kind of do hit a point where you just aren't struggling, you're doing great, and you really aren't stressed, and the basic point of the game kind of like falls away, and you're like, huh. But the narrative still stays the same, and it doesn't necessarily make sense. Anyway, it's time to do the final mission. I'll shut up about anything else. But I was just kind of talking about design of video games. And I was so free to do so, because, yeah, if you look at that journey to this ending, this was not a gauntlet. This was not the mechanical high point of the game. It wasn't a big climax. I just did a casual commute over to this plot point location, and now we'll do the story, which apparently is over there at the end of a straight road. Might be a good time to just pop some gas in here before I trigger more things.
This is really it, huh? The end of the road. Soon we'll finally see for ourselves what caused the mass hallucination, and what Tobias and Alan died for, and whether it was all worth it.
Damn, the amount of space that was left was bigger than both of my fuel things combined. The amount of space I've consumed so far. It's just how big my tank is. Alright, let's get to the end of this road. We'll see if a bunch of bad stuff starts happening at me, or if it's a quiet, somber drive. I'm sad they killed off the other guy.
Yeah. Thank you for trusting me when you had every reason not to. Getting to this point together with you, it makes me feel like my old self again.
been an honor to watch you work, Dr. Turner.
Dr. Turner. I don't know if I put that together.
Are they real? I can't even begin to guess what could be outputting this much radiation.
Some sort of energy reservoir, a massive fission reaction, or
A portal.
Atlantis.
Atlantis?
If this thing really leads us to Atlantis, I'm turning in my PhD.
God, if only Tobias were here to see it.
I would have liked to hear his take on all this. For once.
Oopsie. My thing, parking brake wasn't in? Maybe that is, maybe there's a quirk there, or maybe I'm just not holding it down long enough. I don't think I fully put things together, which is shameful, that Oppie is Ophelia Turner, the most prominent person tied to this entire organization, the person the podcast is about, the person a lot of the things are about, the person that they specifically wanted to not do the meetings around. Whoops. Just did not think about that particular detail. I wonder if they, I don't remember if they ever mentioned the full name, Ophelia Turner, or Dr. Turner, or just always called her Oppie. But it should have been obvious, obviously. It's just that, it's just that their voiceovers are always happening to me when I'm multitasking. And,
You're almost to the threshold. Remember, Francis and I have got your back. Once you get that car to the well, we'll keep the gamma ray burst under control for as long as we can. Whatever happens, whatever state you find yourself in, the Arc device will be your safety net. Use it. Get back to us, you hear me?
Ready when you are, driver.
we'll see how it goes. I never ended up using my tracking flashlight. Didn't really matter. And yeah, the notes bombard me with names for me to think about, but yeah, Ophelia Turner stood out as being the most important name in the thing. But yeah, just it's probably very embarrassing that I'm admitting that I blanked on this detail. This was probably obvious to everyone.
Godspeed, driver.
We'll see what happens. Is there a final map? A gauntlet? Or is it gonna do, be a walking simulator essentially at the end? Okay, well, a giant room full of screens is kind of walking simulator 101. That's extremely funny that I said that, and then I got teleported into a room where a bunch of TVs are stacked on each other. I've been in this room so many times in video games. I'm sorry. This is me playing too many video games and seeing tropes, but holy fuck. This is very fun. I just did this in Entropy Center, the puzzle game. This exact thing. That's very funny. All right.
Did it work? What's the energy output? Damn it, Alan, I'm fine. Light nearly blinded me. Can you read it?
Yeah. Let me see. 500 kilojoules? Happy, what is this?
The future. I call it limb waves.
The future. Everyone calls her Oppie. I guess Ophi sounds... That's good. Wow, what am I playing? Am I playing Halo 3? With the man cannon? I took fall damage. That's rude. I'm taking fall damage in the vision? Do I even have a body? I feel like I've been put back in the game Observer.
Alan, gosh. Is it that time already?
So, about leaving Arda. I was thinking, how about by Christmas?
Yes, maybe. I just need to solve this instability issue. I loathe to think about leaving the Olympic Peninsula like this.
Yeah, there's always more to do.
I know. I'm sorry.
And I love you for it. I'm just wondering if you'll really be able to walk away from all this. It's okay if you can't.
You abandoned the world to work here beside me. Fair is fair.
Lemtech is a world-changing discovery. Your world-changing discovery. Fairness isn't even a consideration.
We agreed to have children, and I'm not having them in this hellhole.
Good, because I'd love to have 8.
Then I hope you're ready to carry at least half of those yourself.
I love you.
Seahorse. Mpreg. Mpreg. She became an Octomom, would that her name would be Octi? Oppie is a weird nickname for Ophelia. I don't know. I've never met an Ophelia, so maybe that's maybe that's what people go by. See, Ophi makes you sound like, well, not a PhD haver. This is eerie. The floor is wooden now.
Tobias, the movers are here. Wait, why aren't you packed?
I ain't going.
The evacuation orders.
Evacuation orders can go to hell. We leave and we never see the inside of these walls again. All the things we've been investigating, the ripple, the echoes from the swamp, they'll all fade away. I'm gonna stay and chase down these stories, wherever they take me.
Tobias,
Stay here. With me.
They talk shit about... So they talk shit about Oppie earlier on, but... Tobias's obsession is what got him killed in a way. It made he stayed here when his husband wanted to leave. He wanted to get out of here and go have a normal life away from this nightmare. They stayed here for decades because of Tobias. And then Tobias was consumed ultimately by the zone, and now he's alone. It's sad. Strange carpet.
I'm here to deliver the committee's decision. You have been found guilty of doctoring experimental data. This action is in clear violation of Arda's scientific integrity. Judgment has been rendered. You may stay and work, but your clearance will be lowered to level 3.
So I'm to be a glorified flash cleaner.
Take it as a win. You could have been court-martialed instead.
Yeah, I'm sure you would have liked that much better.
What I like has no bearing on this decision. See you on Monday, Dr. Cook.
That was a very quick conversation. Concrete.
Driver, do you read me?
Driver, you passed through some sort of opening. We managed to hold it steady, but the energy expulsion is growing. We don't have much longer.
If you can hear this, you need to get back now.
I don't even know where I am. Did the arc device do this?
The gang's back together.
Tobias?
I never told you how grateful I was that you stayed behind in the zone with me. These years, best of my life. Foraging for mushrooms, slogging through swamplands, combing through hours and hours of terrible field recordings. Not a single moment wasted. Thank you for everything.
It was all you. You made me feel capable. That anything was possible. That I wasn't some second-rate scientist. All my happiness was thanks to you. And I'm afraid of how I'll survive without you.
I'm not. You got this. You always have. Hey, Oppie, Alan sends his regards. And he wants to know why you haven't taken his advice yet.
He's got this inescapable
Driver,
self-loathing.
is that a gumbaroo on your dash? No, I'll be damned.
A gumbaroo.
Bye. Until next time.
Tobias? Tobias!
Driver,
Aw.
if you could hear this, we can't keep the well stable for much longer. Wherever you are, come back.
I'm running. Now I'm in the green one. This is maybe the real cave, and all the other ones were like the different memory spots. Oh. Perfectly timed. Should I be really getting back in this thing, though? In this sweet half pipe I'm gonna drive down. Oh. Hi, friend. Aw, I did little hearts at me. See, me and the Remnant get along great. Why would I ever want to leave him? He's my car husband.
Just a little longer. Hold steady, Francis.
I should have touched that. I probably should have hit that for speed boost in this plot bit. Okay, I see the downside of that approach. Ow. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, and now it's raining the horrible radiation stuff at me! What the fuck? Help! I'm so good at being upside down on this car. Oh, you fuckers. Where am I? Where am I? I feel like this game just bugged out on me and I might fail this run now. Which I don't even know what that means for the story. Where the fuck did it put me? My car's that way? I'm like floating maybe. I think I need to get down. I think it teleported me onto a roof above me. No? I think I need to go back this way. This is really undercutting the ending, unfortunately. Whoops. I have no idea where it spawned me when I had to get out of the car, but I flipped. My car is so top heavy. I think am I like on top of something? I feel like I like got... There's like an invisible wall that won't let me go this way. Yeah, so I correctly guessed that it spawned me above. Won't let me do it. I think it spawned me above where I crashed. On this weird piece of balcony. And it won't let me go off this side of the cliff. Oh, I'm crouched right now. Can I go off when I'm not crouched? No. There's an invisible wall over there. Maybe the other side? Otherwise, I might just have to save and quit. Or do the thing where you... If I quit, it'll like restart the zone, I think. And then I can edit it together, I guess. Yeah, this is just a... Can I go down this path? Okay, I'm floating. That's not a good sign. I don't even know what'll happen if I reach my destination without my car. Yeah, it doesn't like being up here. This isn't valid gameplay zone. But it bizarrely does have a walking hitbox. This is funny because this kind of cinematic moment in a video game is always meant to imply high stakes and big deal stuff is happening. And oh my god, ticking clock! But these kind of moments in video games are almost never, they almost never have stakes. You're almost always basically invincible and you're gonna be fine. And everything's going great, don't worry about it, just keep going. Okay, I'm on the floor now. Maybe I can generate it here? No. If I can get back downstairs without dying from falling, I might be able to generate my car downstairs. I'm still out of bounds. This looks more gradual over here. I don't want to die of fall damage. Which I only have some resistance to. And I'm probably supposed to go through that flight semicircle to get to my destination. And I'm running up, I'm cliff horsing along this wall. Here, I'll hold up my lantern I never get to use. It doesn't work. It doesn't have light. Oh, there, never mind, sorry, right trigger. There's an invisible wall right here. Guess I'm gonna have to hop down. Yeah, I'm... Oh, stop zooming. Please don't kill me with fall damage. I'm pretty far from my car, so I have to run all the way back to it, I think. This is so unfortunate, but also, holy crap, what a crash. That was a bad time for me. No? Serpentine, 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 serpentine. I can only hope that they fuck off. The good news about the bunnies is that I'm relatively confident that they're so limited that they basically do one big jump attack at you, and then once they do that jump attack, they cease to exist. I think if you dodge the jump, they functionally stop making decisions anymore, and they stop chasing you. They cinematic. Oh, there's my lights are still on. They cinematically try to drive ahead of you, run ahead of you when you're driving in a Wind Waker sort of way. Here we go. All right, well that was very rude, Mr. Video Game. Don't do that again. My wheels are fucked up, and so is my my tire's fucked up. Let's at least fix the tire. It's really it's not doing great for the stakes of this, is it? All right. Sealing kit. My right trigger broken? No. Well, don't let me use the sealing kit. Oh, right. These need that. This needs the sealing kit. I mixed up my goals. These two need a sealing kit. And this one needs a mechanics kit. No? It's bald and blown out. Fix none. Wow, it's dead. Okay. This needs a replacement tire, and I don't have any resources on me. That is extremely funny, guys. I get this far into the adventure, and what finally gets me? A blown out tire for the first time. And of all the things I brought as preparations, there's one thing I didn't think to bring. The most obvious thing that you bring in your car for repairs. Your spare tire. I don't have a spare tire. I brought a billion tools, but I didn't pack a spare tire? I am such an unserious person.
Francis, hold tight.
Anyway, the plot's back. Here we go. Seamless. Illusion not shattered at all. That's unfortunate. I know people don't like it sometimes that my commentary ruins immersion and stuff like that, but that was just the game. I didn't even do that one. that was really unfortunate. Some people hate it when I analyze things while they're happening because I dissect the thing, and that it's like explaining the joke. Sometimes it kills the. You can explain a joke, but it's not funny. I care a lot about the craft of things, so sometimes talking about that unpacks it, but I don't know. For once, it's not my fault. The game just really shit itself, and I got warped out of bounds. Let's send that footage to the creators, maybe. I don't know, somebody remember to do that.
You made it back, driver. All in one piece, it looks like.
And no sign of the Remnant's energy signature anywhere in that car.
You're free.
But the car's maintained its link to you. Fascinating.
I get to keep my car?
You'll never know how far the Remnant's obsessions wormed into your head, but you should be safe from it getting any worse. In theory.
Poppy, I'm sorry. You didn't get to talk to Alan again.
We managed to pull off the near impossible. And the first thing you do is apologize?
Sorry. I mean,
Don't worry, it was Tobias's fault. He hogged the frequency all for himself yet again.
You heard him too.
I did. That means I didn't imagine that last conversation with Alan. And you know what else?
What?
that your theory was right. And Tobias called it. All that bluster, and he ended up showing us scientists a thing or two. Those moments we heard, they were all from the past. Being inside that well somehow allowed the remnant to access those imprints and replay them. But Tobias's voice wasn't from the past, it was from somewhere else entirely.
But where? And how?
No clue. Do me a favor. Once you figure it out, don't bother telling me.
Aw.
I'm leaving the zone.
I'm sorry, what?
Alan came to tell me goodbye, and that I was forgiven 37 years ago. I didn't listen. So now, finally, I'm going to take his advice. I should have left the zone a long time ago.
But if we solve this, maybe there's a way to speak to him again.
I heard what I needed to hear. It only took me 37 years to listen. Anyway, all that sounds like a young scientist game. It's not for me anymore. Francis, you decide what to do from here. You can carry the torch and continue the research, or get out of this cursed place and find your own way. It's your decision. And driver, you're free now. You can do what you want from here. But if you'll allow an old woman one last hope, stay here with Francis. There's so many more stories for the zone to tell. And the both of you are young enough to listen. My ears are bad. And I refuse to hear them. I've removed all access restrictions to my systems, Francis. The helm is yours.
Wait, I don't know if I can do this alone.
What was this rumor
You're
before?
not alone. You've got clear eyes, ears open to the impossible, and the driver. Dr. Cook, driver. It's been a pleasure. This is Dr. Ophelia Turner. Signing off.
Oppie? Oppie!
Oppie!
Well, driver, if you don't mind sticking around with me, Oppie was right. There's still so much of the zone that we still don't know about. But with your help, we can tell those stories. I'm no Oppie, but I'll do the best I can. You're no longer bound to the car. But it's stayed with you, and will continue to protect you as you travel the zone. Go on, then. As long as you're willing to drive, I'm along for the ride.
Nope, and then there's credits. Yeah, the game is so ready for the idea that you're just hooked to its mechanics and so on that you might want to keep going. That they're like, we won't cut you out. You can keep that gameplay loop going. You can keep upgrading your vehicle. You can keep maxing out that tech tree and all that. Do what you want. Just no more narrative hook. In fact, there's 3 characters we've met in the entire story, and one is dead, one is gone, and we're just with this guy now. Don't know how much he speaks anymore, or what happens after this point. I'm probably gonna stop here at the supposed ending, because I'm doing a playthrough for an audience and all that, and at that point you're like, well, that's the logical endpoint, right? And I'm not gonna... If I could drag it out forever for my own personal desire, if I just want to keep, like, if I want to hang out and max out the achievements or screw around like that, but at some point there's not much left to show a third party and expect them to stick around for that long. At the specifically, whenever I talk about this stuff, I'm saying because it's at the cost of me playing other games, and even if people would like a bit more Pacific Drive, hypothetically, they probably would like me to play whatever game they've been wanting me to get to, more so than watching me wander around aimlessly and pick up upgrades indefinitely. But yeah, this was a neat game. It's a fun, I think that it's fun how it experiments with its maps and its timers and its risks and so on. It's interesting that it did commit pretty hard to not really having an antagonist or things that attack you and chase you at all. It never becomes a full horror game with like some kind of thing coming at you. Even the suggestion of a Bigfoot seems to not really pay off, and anything that does appear to follow you is relatively rare and isn't that antagonistic. It really is just like those somewhat territorial ground thingies that glow and burrow, and then maybe the visitors, or the tourists. I forgot. The tourists, yeah, the tourist trap. The tourists are weird because they don't seem to ever... I genuinely feel like I had that introduction of them pursuing me, and then they maybe went on to never do that ever again. Maybe it's because I was just cautious enough about them that I wasn't aggroing them, or maybe my awareness of them made it much more easy to just avoid getting in trouble with them because I was hyper vigilant or something. But I feel like I was getting reckless in the last third of my playthrough and being pretty sloppy in pursuit of like big goals and big resources, and I really was not keeping an eye out for that much for the tourists, and I was no longer afraid of them. I kind of like turned around and stopped caring about them once we went through the wall, basically. And that was all the way back when we were finishing the first zone. We're finishing the first zone, we go into that wall, and we're seeing all the cool... That we spent so much time in there trying to gather certain things, and there was all these tourists in this darkness and in the red, and that was creepy. But seeing how little they were pursuing me in a place that was so full of tourists, from that point on, when the game kept escalating, I just didn't care about tourists anymore. Increasingly, there was parts where I'd grab like a corrupted anchor, and then the entire driver's side half of my car is covered in tourists all of a sudden, and I'd like be a little bit, somewhat performatively, just being a commentator, but in reality, for the most part, I was kind of like, yeah. I would just like walk in, and are there only 2 voice actors? That might have been a different region. Were both of the gay husbands voiced by the same person? Or I think that might have been a localization team, though. Hacker Man, TJ Cocker, Teddy Deef. Look at all these dogs and cats. But yeah, overall, by the end, Midna, the crime cat. Are you named after Legend of Zelda? Lord Bunny Gilgamesh. I don't know if rabbits respond to names necessarily. Aha, it's a licensed soundtrack, so it's a good thing I was muting it. Got it. It probably is fun to have the radio playing throughout for some fun theming. It's always fun to have radio playing in games like these. Like in Fallout 3, so much of the identity of Fallout 3 to me was tied to having a soundtrack playing and getting used to the Andrews sisters and the ink spots and stuff like that. To the point where when I returned to playing Fallout games for the channel, I'm like, it feels weirder not having those songs playing all the time that are kind of the identity of that game, having that soundtrack looping. But it's real dicey playing with licensed music. Anything, the moment there's lyrics in something, I'm always worried that I'm gonna get in trouble, or that even if the soundtrack is cleared for the playthrough, there's often the chance that it'll be sporadically blocked for other reasons, because like, oh yeah, we licensed it to be okay for YouTube or whatever, but there's so many people involved in that chain, and somebody just changes their mind or fucks with a YouTube account somewhere, and suddenly, whoops, every third video of this playthrough is now blocked in Portugal because it features that one song or something, and that just gets really messy. Like, I lost my playthrough of Vampire the Masquerade for like a year or two because they put out a vinyl collection of the soundtrack. So Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, but that playthrough just, the majority of the episodes just disappeared overnight, and I just couldn't do anything about it because the soundtrack was copyrighted and was being blocked on YouTube, and I think it went away eventually. Like years later, they resolved it because they didn't mean to do that. But as me, I'm powerless in that situation. As a YouTuber, all you can do is just dispute the claim, because I'm legally required to be able to dispute the claim, but all that ever happens is people ignore it, and then at some point they just decline my dispute. They just say no. They just ignore me disputing it. Same thing happens when I dispute like the age rating of a video, or it being demonetized or blocked based on being too adult or having whatever content in it. YouTube will block a video for its content and then not explain what it was blocked for, and then I'll dispute it, being like, there's nothing wrong in this video. It'll be blocked for nudity, and I'm like, this video doesn't have nudity in it. It's me doing analysis of a horror movie. There's no nudity in this video. It's not pornographic. And then I'll dispute it, and then it'll immediately be declined by someone, and then that person will also not give me an explanation of which part of the video was pornographic. And that's my one dispute I get, so I'm just locked out from the system and I can't fix it now. That's what happened to my Annihilation video, and I'm like, okay. It sucks how powerless YouTubers are in this process. You can only overcome a copyright claim that is unjust by taking them to court, basically. And that no one's going to do that. That's an insane length to go through, obviously, to try to go take it to court. So that's why. So if you've been wondering this whole time why the soundtrack is off, it's because if I hear anything with lyrics, I pretty much immediately turn it off, unless it's very obviously like an in-universe, like a song made for just the game. And being called licensed usually means it's not that. Overall, it's a cool game. I like the gameplay loop. I like games that do interesting things with loot. In particular, I think that games like Fallout 3 and 4 are pretty bad. It's just a bunch of spammy stuff, and it's not... I think that the constant emphasis on looting is not that interesting in those games. Whereas I think that those games are kind of taking after a game like BioShock, and BioShock was more interesting because it was a dense, linear-ish game, and it was all about environmental storytelling and having like meaningful environments that you were looking around, both for as a space to play in as a shooter, and because you're gathering resources that might be very important to you in your survival or your progression in a way more akin to The Last of Us, at least closer to that than like Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 being basically spam and justifications just to constantly loot stuff to engage in somewhat obsessive behavior without it being justified by the mechanics. For me, the peak of some of the stuff was the game Prey from 2017, which I'm upset to register right now is like an 8-year-old game now. Fuck. But in Prey, you're gathering resources in order to get your upgrades, and a lot of them are categorized in a way akin to how Fallout 4 categorized all the loot into certain categories of like, this is a biological thing, this is adhesive, that kind of stuff. But in Prey, it's particular categories that can be used for upgrading specific weapons or being able to craft skill points or do other interesting things with them. And in particular, they kept iterating on the looting in a really interesting way, because looting gets tedious in these kinds of games. You need something to break it up. In this game, what breaks it up is the anomalies and the storms, the weather, atmospheric changes, that, you know, the cloudy status effect storms, and then the actual big storm. All these things like really muddy things up, and then you driving the car around. There's a lot of stuff that makes the gathering more interesting as you're going. In Prey, what was cool is they came up with the idea of mimics. Not the first people ever, but like their implementation of mimics was that mimics in that game are these fucked up, inky, like goo spiders, and those things would impersonate the items you're trying to loot. So you'd be looting stuff, and then and then when you try to loot something, sometimes it would like wobble and then turn into a spider and attack you, and it was terrifying. So the very act of doing the stuff that benefits for you would make you nervous, and you'd always be on edge, wondering if there's any mimics hiding in the room. And then they kept iterating on that idea in more interesting ways. Like they came up with the recycler, which was a grenade you could throw, but instead of blowing up, it tries to suck in and recycle everything in a specific radius. And that was a riff on the recycling machine you used at your base, because at that thing, you took all the loot objects you grabbed and you jammed them in this machine, and then it turned them into these resource types, like they're raw resource types, like plastic and wood or whatever. I don't think that game had wood. The grenade would recycle everything in a room, basically, into those kinds of things. So you want to check to make sure that there's nothing you're destroying that you want, because that you don't want to turn it into recyclables. But it means you could, like, if you think you know where a mimic is, you could throw that at the mimic, and it would turn the mimic into void goo, whatever the resource was that represented evil alien stuff, because that was a resource you could craft stuff out of too, and it was valuable, and while also transforming nearby stuff into loot, and then you'd pick up all that stuff as its resource form, which is more compact and easier to carry around than it would be as full objects. So they kept having more systems that interacted with the loot in interesting ways, and this kind of reached its final form when the DLC came out, and they made a roguelike out of it. They made it into a game, kind of roguelike, kind of like this a little bit, but it was that you had, like, I think 5 characters, and you spent the first part of the game just feeling it out and playing on this particular moon base and figuring out how to navigate it, what the space was like, what methods of escape there might be, what upgrades and resources there are, and what story you could piece together. But and as you would go, you'd unlock more characters, and your ultimate goal at the end of the game was to get all 5 characters to escape this space station, or like, I think it was a moon base. It was called Moon Crash, right? You try to get all 5 of them to escape in the same run. So it's like a high stakes final run where it's like, okay, we're going to use the mastery of all the knowledge we've gained, and we're going to improvise our own solution here. Because there's every character had their own skills, their own capabilities, and their own access to parts of this place, or special abilities that let them do certain things. And so they could open up certain exits for themselves or for each other. And so you could prepare the base, and it really felt like you made your own solution, because there was wiggle room on which exits were available to which people and in what ways. So you really came up with your own ending, essentially, by coming up with the master plan. And it was interesting, because like, if you looted stuff, the loot would be gone when the next character came in, and you could leave resources behind for the next character. But also, as you iterated through the characters, the base was also decaying and getting worse, so it's more dangerous. And if anyone dies, that run is gone. So you have to get all 5 of them right in one go. It's a great idea. Weirdly, Arcane's other studio went on to make Deathloop afterwards, which was also about a time loop roguelike where you try to come up with the perfect escape at the end, and that game sucked by comparison. People disagree with me on this, but that game was all about just following quest markers in a very Fallout 3 kind of way that was very disappointing. And the ending was just you doing the one correct ending that you had to technically uncover, but in the way that you quote-unquote uncover things in video games by just following quests until you just have the whole thing unlocked by finishing the story, which is much less satisfying than crafting your own thing because you solved the game. You don't solve Deathloop in your brain as a player yourself and come up with your own solution. You unlock the one solution which you are told how to unlock it step by step, and then when you unlock it, you're basically told how to do it step by step. And so the whole time you're just following quest markers, and it's a very boring game by comparison. It's just not. It's a much larger AAA full-scale version of Moon Crash that is worse and less inspired and less interesting than the DLC to their previous game. Very weird, but it just further cements Prey as like one of the best games ever made. So this game did really interesting stuff with loot. It did interesting stuff with other elements. My biggest gripe with this game is probably the fact that it's not a continuous map. Particularly, like, I feel like it's hard to tell because the maps are just... The parts of the map are just called, like, E3 and stuff like that, so I don't know what the fuck... And I'm not good at memorizing what each one was, but I really feel like the individual map nodes literally were changing maps every time I went to them, and were randomized. I don't think that the map nodes were the same each time, and that's kind of disappointing. Obviously randomize the hazards and the storms and the anomalies and how bad the current status of the place is, but I wish they were the same maps every time, and I especially would have liked it if they were the same overall map the whole time, because speaking to that, like, pathologic and Yakuza stuff I talked about earlier, if the zone became familiar while you were playing it, that'd be pretty cool. We become familiar with all of the hazards, and we memorize some of the maps that repeat a lot, but the actual path you take into the end of the game does not become familiar. Your paths through the game, I don't think, ever become familiar, because I could be wrong, but I think that the maps are randomized if they're not plot locations. I think the plot locations are always the same one. Like, if you drove through the wall again, it'd probably be the same one. That one race course was the same place. A few places were always the same. But I think that the other ones are swapped out at random. I could be wrong. But that kind of speaks to it too, is that the particular way that the map is organized as a series of separate loading screens that you click on, and the zones aren't named and given their own identity, means they're very interchangeable. So it's hard to even remember if D2 was the same one this time as last time, because the name is not memorable. It's a cluster of places. I'm hopping through all different locations all the time anyway. Like, this would be a very different game, but I definitely, like, it'd be cool if the more times I drove out here, the more familiar I was with my local area. And you get like a road trip of like familiar map you're driving down, and you're getting better at navigating it because you're like, oh yeah, it's this place. Akin to like how you, over the course of you playing a GTA game, you memorize certain neighborhoods and you get down to a science how to drive through them in certain ways. Like that's like kind of what's kind of fun about having a big map. And this game doesn't really have that. You don't really get more familiar with your path. I don't think I'm gonna drive this way for this amount of time, then turn left here and blah blah blah. Like I'm not thinking in those terms when I navigate through the game. I think that's justified by the narrative in that the zone supposedly scrambles itself, so the zones are probably literally swapping somehow, even though the geology and stuff would be like insane to think about. And what are they, like Minecraft map blocks? Do they like have hard edges where they just get cut out? Does it look like the game Abduction from the Mist People, where there's like a big globe of Earth, where at the edge of it just suddenly crumbles and it just suddenly cuts off into being a different type of rock, and the topography is a different height or something because this spot swapped with that spot or something? I don't know. But yeah, for me it was just a little iffy that it was so roguelike-y that when you picked your maps, you really were just clicking on whatever route happened to go where you went. But the locations weren't meaningful because they weren't locations. Like, your destination, you could go to the same destination twice, and I don't think it was the same destination. So the map nodes, to me, felt very meaningless. It was just a cloud of random places. It was confusing how they convey the map, or why you can and can't go certain places. That's all strange, but I don't know. Overall, it's a pretty neat game. It has a cool gameplay loop. Even the narrative and world building's neat. I love the sheer number of codex entries that build up what things were like here before the evacuation, which was decades ago now. So like, I forget when this game is set actually, because the previous thing was in the 60s, right? And it's now like 20 or 30 or 40 years later, where everyone else is old and they've been living here this whole time. I don't think this game's set in modern year quite, but yeah, I kind of lose track of when it's set now. Let's see if they have more narration coming up. I paused it because I was worried that he was going to interrupt right in the middle of me doing my sort of like recap and review. Oh, it's real bad up there. That one's called R2. But it'll let me go here right now. But it won't let me go here. And I beat the game, so like what's the... I don't really get what it's going for with some of this stuff. Yeah. I really don't understand what's happening with the map a lot of the time. I can go here. But if your goal is to fill in the entire map, I wonder why certain spots are just completely blocked from being there, and whether you'll ever get to go there. It looks like there might be space for more nodes up here and more nodes over there. And I'd be curious if they have data on how much people go to each node and whether or not people even normally unlock those spots at all, because it seems like they make it very hard to do. Let's see. Yeah, my objective is still approach the well, so I think at this point there is no... I don't think I ever figured out what this garage is for. Maybe they'll make a DLC with new mechanics. One last one. Welcome all to the third meeting of the Society of Radio Reconstruction on today, March 2nd, 1950. Dr. Turner, thank you for inviting us. Please take the stand and show us the extraordinary gadget you've been... Ophelia Turner. So she was here in the 50s for the radio stuff. They really put their finger on the scale. I was wondering if they would let you turn right and leave or something. But they really would be like, if I may, driver, we never learned your name, stay with him. And then I think the game just stops. And in particular, you literally cannot open this door without picking a destination again, which is funny. And it's just completely self-directed at this point. Just explore and find more anomalies for funsies, I guess. You'd think that they would have scanned everything and learned everything by now because they've been here for so long, but I guess they didn't have a car to brave the danger, so they've just been huddled up in their particular bases, so they have to explore via us as a surrogate. But yeah, I think I'm ready to call it. This has been Pacific Drive. I had a good time. I hope people had a good time. I hope people liked watching this and me doing increasingly long rambles about things, and also just, it's a game about looting. I'm always really nervous playing games like that, because I always worry they're going to be really boring and everyone's going to quit immediately, but people voted for it, so I assume the interest is there. See you guys next time when I play something else.